Man.
Yeah, fucking 200 stab wounds. Those guys are so wicked. Hands of Eternity from their upcoming album. I advanced ordered that shit. I can't even wait. But those guys are absolutely sick, Joey. I've been doing a deep dive in them and just loving it from Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
Killer. Really, really killer. And we got Tex here with us. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, it's going real well, man. Yeah, I can't thank you enough for my partner, Herf Applewhite, back here.
Hell yeah.
He told me I had to go check
you got
my
that
mail.
new assistant.
Yeah, when you told me I had to go check my mail, I didn't know what to expect. But
right?
Yeah, he's badass,
That's
man.
funny.
Thank you.
Hell yeah, of course, my friend. But tonight we're doing an unsolved case, not something we do commonly, like Chris pointed out earlier. The Rainey Street Ripper there in Austin, Texas. But not everyone thinks that this is the work of a serial killer. I mean, this is
the
still...
people that should think it is don't.
Yeah, I've been seeing this more and more when I do these true crime stories. It's fucked up. This is still actively going on. It's eluded the Austin PD for a while. And just in the last 2 years, they have recovered 12 bodies from Lady Bird Lake, which is a man-made lake that you're not allowed to swim in, that connects to the Colorado River, which runs through Austin from the north. It's got a very interesting dark history, and we're going to get into that. But these bodies are just turning up, and these victims, mostly male, all but one, 20s and 30s mostly, hitting the bars on Rainey Street in downtown Austin. I mean,
did you notice how many of the victims have that they know who they are have John in their name?
I did not notice that. That's interesting.
There's like a John Honey. Another dude's last name is John, and there's a John. Another dude's first name is John.
Oh wow. Yeah, I had not noticed that. That's an interesting point. But the most recent one is a female, and there was one victim who was 59, but most were much younger, and they should have just gone to the Nation. I mean, and avoided all this fucking bullshit, Chris.
Yeah, there's
or
no
maybe
water.
419 with Joey. You know, that's another option. But this is some scary shit. And I mean, I'm anxious to talk with Tex, because you're there in Texas, and I'm sure you're very well aware of this one. You're the one that brought it up to me, if I'm not mistaken, Tex. But what is it about this one you think is going to be good for us to talk about?
Well, really, to tell you the truth, man, I initially thought about this topic for the YouTube channel, but I'm glad we're getting it out on the podcast too. Miss Tex and I were in Austin a lot, and we kept hearing about all the bodies being discovered in the lake. And then I started Googling it. And,
Not nice, but...
Yeah, man, there's like a ton of articles, a ton of news stories on TV and everything about it. And there seems to be a lot of interest in it from the journalists, but law enforcement, they're kind of like steering clear of it. So, I mean, we're going to get into that, but yeah.
Right. Maybe this would be a good topic for the True Crime Deep Cuts ones I do that are longer than the 666 seconds videos. But let's get together on that after this is done. But yeah, I think that would be good. If I didn't pick up on that, dude, I'm sorry. It's just been like insanity at the Orange High Studios here. It's been nuts. But Chris, as our resident, alcohol abuse expert.
Hey, dude. I do not abuse alcohol. It abuses me.
Oh, it abuses you. Well, you might be called on to explain how someone gets hammered enough to not remember what happened like this. And in this case, I mean, you got successful young men just dying under very mysterious circumstances, dude.
If you need to ask me any questions about alcoholism, I'll do my best to answer. But yeah, these dudes, they're just out partying and shit. And like, normally, like serial killer victims are like what we said before, like prostitutes, the homeless, or just random women, like females most of the time.
Right.
But I don't know, these dudes just out here making money, out partying on Rainey Street, fucking bouncing. Next thing you know, they're gone.
Yeah, definitely strange. And Joey, we don't do the unsolved cases much, but this is an interesting one. How familiar were you with this one? And what do you think about the others? Will other people be familiar with it?
No, I don't know. This is a pretty unheard of case. I think I heard.
Right.
The only reason I even think I remember hearing about it is because I've heard Lady Bird Lake, and there's no other reason I would have heard that.
Right.
You know.
See,
'Cause of
again,
course-
I'm going back to King of the Hill one more time.
right.
Hank's fucking dog's name. Hank's dog's name was Ladybird.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
You know, whenever we talk about, you know, bodies in a lake, you know what we always say: let the bodies hit the shore.
Oh, damn.
Nice.
Now, I had never heard of this one before. I moved from Texas in 1994 after I was medically discharged from the Army. It is a beautiful city, though. Lots of live music, all kinds, metal, whatever. But I can see how anyone in this area would have been very well aware of this, but we just don't hear about serial murder cases today with this many bodies. And you know, the 12 bodies I mentioned are just really the tip of the iceberg here. I think this is going to be a good one.
Pretty crazy.
You know, it really is. So Lady Bird Lake was named as such after the former First Lady, wife of President Lyndon Johnson. Lady Bird was her nickname. The original name was Town Lake. That's pretty lame. That's like Screen Door Intruder.
Town Lake.
I mean, come on, guys.
Where
So
you going,
they upped it with Lady Bird Lake. You know,
I'll go.
It's unique.
It's better.
It's unique.
It's better than just Town Lake.
It is. Or the lake would have been.
Yeah.
That would have been another one of Ricky's offspring to go with the hotel, the lake.
I would have preferred just the lake because everybody says, "What are you doing today? Going to the lake?"
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But it's a river-like reservoir on the Colorado River, as I mentioned earlier, in Austin. So the river flows south into this reservoir, created in 1960 to cool down the city's power plant, which is not even there at this location anymore. But the river and lake area, you know, really exploded, and it does offer flood control from the river to have somewhere to
have
go.
that reservoir for the water to fall into.
Yeah,
which is awesome, actually.
And Lady Bird Johnson was a huge proponent of the reservoir and wanted them to build like walking areas and bike trails and lots of shrubs and trees and all this.
Make it a spot that's pretty
very nice.
It's a nature preserve kind of thing.
Yeah, very much so. And that's why they changed it to her honor. And she put up 20 grand of her own money, and in 1960 that would be 279,000 today. So that's some serious jack.
It's not a small chunk of change.
No,
Yeah.
no, that was very cool. So yeah, Lady Bird Lake is a huge recreational spot still today. But
So
Tex, what's up with the no swimming though in the lake, man? What was the deal?
Well, right up until like 1960, you know, they allowed swimming and stuff, but I always heard, like for the last, I don't know, I've been here for like 30 years, that it was contaminated, that there was a lot of like E. coli and shit like that, and runoff from the power plant and stuff like that. But
Right.
the real reason is because there's a city ordinance, because there was a shit ton of drownings between like 1960 and 1964, and something about the currents. And there's bridge debris.
Undertows
so if you like
and
dive
shit.
off the shore or dive off the bridge, you'll impale yourself on a rebar or
Oh God.
bonk your head on the bridge and shit like that.
Nice.
Oh,
So
man.
that's why they don't. Yeah, that's why they don't allow swimming, but they do allow paddleboarding, kayaking, and other water. You know, like water activities like that.
So
The ordinance is like really weird
Yeah.
written.
So
It's
you could be out
the
on
way
a
it is,
paddleboard
but-
or kayak or whatnot, and you can have a boat out there. Now, can you water?
Yeah.
Can you water ski?
No, you can't have like power boats and shit like that, but you can have
no,
boards and kayaks.
okay, no
and stuff.
motorboats, so like canoes and shit like that. What?
No, like way up the river up north, they can have, regular like ski boats and shit like that.
Right. Nothing motor powered, all man powered shit.
Yeah.
Right.
But it looks beautiful, though, Tex, in the video and pictures I've seen. And I know Austin's beautiful. I just don't think I was down there. But really, really nice, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
So.
And they didn't really, they didn't name it Lady Bird Lake until 2007 when she passed away.
Oh, okay.
It was
All
Town
right.
Lake up until then. So,
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that for sure. But Chris, the Rainey Street Ripper, definitely better than the other, which was Lady Bird Lake Serial Killer. That's just too
Rainey
much.
Street Ripper's way better moniker.
That's too much, man. That's like a VIN
Rainey Street
number,
Ripper,
man. That's
baby.
too much. Yeah.
Rainey Street Ripper's
I like that
way
one.
fucking better, dude.
Yeah, definitely. But these bodies start showing up in 2015 in the lake, but in the media they're saying, it was 2022 when the murder started. So what do you think, man?
When you got 12 bodies in fucking 2 years,
That's a lot,
That's
man.
a fucking lot. Now, knowing what Tex just said, like, it was notorious for having a lot of drownings and everything. It's not gonna hurt. Like, people are dumb these days, so maybe they did just fucking go just run themselves and watch me jump into the lake, dude. Somebody bet them, but I get how people are freaking out about it because that's a lot of bodies really fucking fast.
Right.
Not just like, we found one this year, 3 years later, somebody drowned, nothing like that. 12 bodies in 24 months. Fuck that, dude. And so, like, the fucking people in the city are freaking out. Like, this isn't common. This just popped up.
Yeah,
Why
is
is
nuts.
this happening all
Yeah.
of a sudden?
Every other month. That's a lot, man. But I watched a really good documentary about this on YouTube. I also read several newspaper articles and used which I didn't even know existed. I don't think I had run across this before, the Serial Killer Database website, which was cool. Most of the stories are the same with these victims. They're men, mostly successful. They're drinking downtown bars, like we said, along Rainey Street. And Tex, what is that area like? I know you had said you'd been there before, but what can you describe it for us, so people that aren't familiar with the area?
Yeah, like in the early to mid 90s, I used to be down there all the fucking time, man, drinking and doing other things.
Acting the fool. Acting the fool.
And,
I haven't been
doing
down
other
there.
things.
It's been a good couple decades since I've been down there. But Austin is the hub of Texas politics and shit like that. And it's also the home of the University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns.
Right.
It being a college town, it's weekly parties and shit in the streets. There's heavy police presence on the weekends, like around 6th Street area.
Right.
And Rainey Street is south of that. And it runs like north to south to the lake. And it's kind of like on the extreme outskirts of the bars. But there are bars down there, obviously. 'Cause,
Right.
Obviously.
That's what Austin is a bunch of bars.
There's
Right.
a bunch of bars and
Yeah, it's a party
politicians.
atmosphere.
But I remember it being a very clean city, though. A very, very clean city.
It used to be.
Okay, so it's changed. Because I know New York used to be a shithole, and then Giuliani got in there and really cleaned up the city, and it was a marked difference. You had tourists wanting to come back. Who wants to go to a crime-ridden, shitbox? It's turned into something worse than what I remember then.
Yeah, I think on like Saturday nights, Saturday nights, it's pretty rough down there. So still beautiful though.
Yeah, for sure. So so it's just like any big city downtown. A lot of stuff going on, like Tex is saying. So Joey, I mean, what they believe is the case with these victims is they're likely drugged with like GBH or something like that. And not that you're, know anything about drugs or anything, but
He doesn't know
but
goddamn thing
what do
about
you
drugs.
think would, be going on when you're getting drugged with something like that?
I mean, that would be the optimal fucking chance for somebody to get somebody in the bars. Of course, we've seen it numerous times, date rape, drugs, and all that.
Yeah.
Prevalent. But what's hard to understand is these cases. This is a newer case. Like, these bodies have been washing up like recently. Let the bodies hit the shore.
Right.
And
Sure.
what I don't get is if there's some kind of drugs being used in this day and age, can't they detect that shit and figure it
the
out?
toxicology reports
You would
and
think,
shit.
Right.
man. You would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed. They were talking about like these different things that women use to detect that in their drinks with like straws, and I was like, man, that's crazy that a fucking person has to think like that. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah.
what the fuck does
Yeah.
that say about this fucking world that you got to be like that? Like, god damn.
I'll be like, oh shit, I turned away from my drink for 3 seconds.
Yeah,
Now I,
mean,
gotta
God
check it.
fucking mighty. It's just this kind of shit just gets me mad. I'm like, these people are just so fucking shitty, and like Joey's saying, it's so vulnerable. So that's why they believe, depending on what I read or watched, could have been potentially involving bartenders that were slipping them something, and then maybe working in a team, 2-person team, maybe another person inside, one outside, and they're communicating. There's another one option. It certainly could be one person if they were really slick.
As Jeffrey Dahmer showed us, like,
Right, it's
man,
totally
that's
doable.
the best situation. You get somebody that's already inebriated and they're drinking.
Right.
You
Help
offer
'em.
the drug, or don't offer, but slip them the drug, or maybe offer them, maybe if they're looking to party, And
Right.
the thing is now, most of the time you can leave with this person and it doesn't look like they're under any kind of duress or anything. They're willingly going because they don't know what the fuck's going on because they're all
Right.
fucked up, and
Right.
but you're able to walk out of this place with this potential victim,
Right.
and do what you can. So in a big place like Austin, where
Right.
there's fucking population and foot traffic everywhere,
Right.
Right, and at that point, you're already talking, you're running, you're having a good time together. Nobody's going to look at you any different than you were already.
Right.
So once
It's
you
not
get
like you're
away,
dragging them out or something
you're,
like
you're
that.
just walking,
You're just
willingly
walking out
with this person.
Yeah, it's fucked up. But I mean, Tex, I'm sure the Austin PD, like a lot of these cases I look at, they're saying these are accidental. I mean, what is going on, man?
I mean, in my opinion, dude, I think, there's ample evidence for there to be a serial killer. But at the same time, part of Austin PD's job is to encourage public calm and confidence, to reduce
Right.
fear, dissuade potential copycats too. Just think of the panic cases like the Night Stalker or the Hillside Stranglers, all the panic they produced.
Yeah.
And, it was just a fearful time, all that stuff.
I mean,
So,
it's-
yeah.
It's fucking Texas, dude. You guys fucking all carry guns. Like, what the fuck?
You would think we did.
Yeah, I mean, we see this a lot.
Yeah.
These PDs don't want to. They're not going to want to get the public all wound up with a serial killer, tag on this thing. But it's definitely. I would agree with you. I mean, I would think it really does seem to be a serial killer with that many similarities. The same victim type, the same dumping location.
Right, that MO's there.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a copycat to me. It seems like the same person, but I mean, Chris, the first one they found had his hands
this
bound
fucking
and
guy.
duct tape around his head. I mean,
Yeah, duct tape around his whole fucking head. Like,
Right.
that was a straight up murder.
right.
You can't tell me that was accidental. Oh, this guy just like,
Yeah.
hey, bro, just tape me up and I'm going to walk until I fall in the fucking lake. Like,
Exactly.
that'd be assisted suicide if that's what happened. But that didn't
Right.
fucking happen, bro.
No.
Like, and maybe the because of that, that's why people think it's a serial killer. Because how many of the bodies were actually bound at all?
I don't know if I saw a number on that, but there were multiple ones that were bound.
Right.
But not all of them.
I thought there was multiple ones, but you got multiple bodies coming out of this lake bound up. Maybe not with the duct tape all around their head. That's not a suicide, dude. I mean, I guess I just don't think it.
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
I mean, I guess if you wanted to fucking make sure you fucking died, you could wrap your fucking feet.
You could.
And it's possible to wrap your hands and then just
we had
jump.
that Barari deal with the
Right.
fucking 12 of them in the fucking
Exactly,
circle.
and
That
just
was
jump
crazy.
in the fucking lake. You can't do nothing. Like,
Yeah, I don't know, man. But
I
one
think
body.
fucking suicide by drowning is the fucking one of the worst ways you could fucking
Oh
ever
my
do
god,
it.
yeah. Who would go for that option? I don't know.
Aquatic bondage accidents.
So there's one body found in 2015, one in 2018, 3 in 2022, 4 in 2023, and one already this year, just a few months ago, was that female. Slowly escalating, but it is something we see with serial killers, and we also don't know, is he or she possibly murdering other people and just not dumping them that way? You know, we don't know, obviously, but
Right.
that's
That
because
person's
that
a
is
killer.
weird. You don't normally see that long a period of time between murders. If this is what, you know, we're saying maybe a serial killer, that's a long amount of time between, you know, so you wonder what else were they doing, or were they
Not
locked
really.
up?
I mean,
You know, we don't know.
dormant.
Maybe they were locked up. You know, that's always possible.
That's when they got off of their blood. They don't remember doing this. They were just fucking drunk the whole time. Like, yeah.
Right.
Now they're out of their blackout going, oh shit, did I do this?
Yeah.
And then go
Definitely.
get drunk about it and go kill somebody.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Now, there's only female victim that we know of, and I wonder if the fact that the victims were all men but one, and also that many of them were not white, that maybe that's a possibility that this was more outside of Texas, not as big of a hype. Whereas obviously in Texas you would, and especially by Austin being the capital and all of those things Tex mentioned of the area. But outside of that market, maybe not as big of a story.
Right.
But when you got 4 college students in Idaho, you know, young, attractive college students, 3 of them were women, those cases always seem to get more attention. Or like Natalie Holloway, you know, how many missing girls are there?
Mm-hmm.
Why in the fuck were we hearing about
Right,
that for
right.
God knows how long? And I'm not saying we shouldn't have. I'm just saying, I mean, for the others, you know, it's like, why her? You
Push them
know,
off to the back.
she was the blonde college girl, you know, so they just get more attention. It's just right or wrong, it's fact, you know. But Joey, one of the survivors then came forward, man, this Jeff Jones. What was his deal?
Joof.
He was 38-year-old. Says he survived the Rainey Street Ripper back in last June.
Yeah.
He was at a bachelor party, and he had about a bunch of his friends from Boston. And
Boston.
I mean, I don't know what the deal is that he ends up falling off a 24-foot bridge.
Jesus.
So I don't know
Wow.
what they're doing.
Sounds like the
But-
Hangover fucking movies, you know.
He fucked
But
up.
what was his connection with the, like, how did he survive though?
Well, somebody found him down there and called 911, and they saved his life.
But what I'm saying is,
Yeah,
like,
and they
could
found,
he have just fallen himself though?
Oh, I don't know. Tex, do you know where this is, this famous bridge?
Yeah, it's like on the lower southeastern side of the area they're finding the bodies. And he's saying that he remembers somebody pushing him off the bridge. And also,
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
the toxicology report, he had Rohypnol in his system. Like a
Roofies.
big dose of
Okay.
Rohypnol.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
scary.
It is fucking scary, but yeah, it's fucking metal rods in his back. 2 weeks later, waking up like, holy shit, that's crazy. But Chris, I mean, that's a good way to lose your teeth, man. If you fell off a 24-foot bridge, you know.
Again, we're gonna go back to getting blackout drunk. Good way to lose your teeth is go to FTA, drink a shit ton of fucking beer, go pass out in a fucking pasture. That's all you got to do.
That's all you
That's
gotta-
all you
don't
gotta
need
do.
to fall off a
Nope,
bridge.
you don't got to
Okay.
fall off the bridge. You can
Okay.
just lay there in the soft grass and not even move and lose them some bitches.
So yeah, as Tex says, they found the roofies in his system. Original purpose of those was for insomnia, to treat insomnia, but he's lucky that he landed on the ground and not in the water, because then he would have
Yeah.
drowned.
Still hitting the ground at 24 feet.
Right.
I wouldn't want to
and to say that he was lucky waking up with metal rods in his back 2 weeks later, but still, I mean, I guess it's better than the alternative.
Could not walk. Or be dead.
Right. But he separated from his group about 1 o'clock and then doesn't remember a whole lot after that. And he was 6'3", and said he was, was able to handle his alcohol. So, it's fucked up. Definitely seems like, what we're thinking it is. So the 911 call comes in when someone finds him unresponsive beneath this historic 6th Street bridge. And amazing that they found him before, like, the rats got to him.
Fucking
that would have been
Kuklinski would have been like, now
that's
you're
a
in my spot.
Kuklinski deal. I don't know. They get river rats down there, Tex, do you know?
Oh, yeah. Big as your head, man.
Yeah, that's what I was
He's got a
wondering,
big
because I know
fucking
in
head,
New
bro.
York there's a bunch of those, so that's why I figured there probably was. But what's Austin like, like the citizenry here while all this shit is going on? Because the PD is, I'm sure, under fire and catching all kinds of shit.
I'm pretty sure, Rainey Street down that end is kind of, people are a little hesitant to go down there now, but as far as like the rest of Austin, you don't really hear a whole lot of, people taking any other type of precautions. So, you don't really think about a serial killer most of the time. And but there are tons of social media, excuse me, tons of social media groups, podcasters, and journalists. They're all of the same mind as me. I think all these murders are connected, and I'm not going down there. Fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be going down there either, dude. It's, until they get this shit figured out, I mean, who knows? It could be one person, or it could be like the Schenkel Butcher thing, where there was a whole team of them doing shit like this, in that van. Remember that shit, Joey? I mean, those guys are absolutely brutal, man, the stuff they were doing. So, I don't know, man. It's definitely a crazy one. But what do you think, Joey? Do you think this is a serial killer? Do you think these are just kind of unrelated?
I mean, I could see how it definitely could be a serial killer. The thing that the cops have some advantages over what the rest of us have that maybe make their decision on not calling it a serial killer easier. And
That's true.
they have all the phone records from all these people. They know where all their pings were, so they can see if there was no connected correlation between them. They know any video footage there is of any of these victims in any bars beforehand, on the streets beforehand, or whatever.
Right.
They've seen all that shit. They've seen all the pings, so they can obviously make a more scientific guess than what I could. But can I see, the similarities in some of the victims, and does it seem like, the MO of things that we've talked about before? Absolutely. And is Austin a big enough place that it can house, numerous serial killers? Of course it is. So,
right.
The possibility is definitely there.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, too, another similarity with these victims is their valuables weren't taken, which is very strange, right?
And none of them were like
very strange.
And none of them were like beaten or anything. There was
That's true.
No, like,
I don't believe there were. Yeah, so very,
not sexually
very
assaulted, nothing like that.
Right. So it's like, what was the purpose? I wondered too, like in New York, a lot of back in the day when the true crime or the crime families were like at their peak, in like the 70s in New York City, a lot of those gangsters were going to they called it the Pines, but it's a part of New Jersey where it's just like sandy and these like scrub pine trees. It's like pitiful looking, but it's like goes on and goes on and goes on. And these guys would go down to the Pine Barrens is what they called them. And they would bury these, people because nobody's ever going to fucking find them, So I wondered if it was something like that, where there was maybe some sort of crime activity or whatever, and that was a convenient place to dump them.
Get rid of them.
So it could have been multiple people. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a true serial killer because of the gaps in the time, unless he was locked up, and that could maybe explain that cooling off for that long. But I do tend to lean, as we're talking with us all here now, that maybe it is just a multiple, like Joey said. You get a city of that size, I don't know how many million people are in. I didn't look to see how many were in Austin, but got to be a bunch. So
Yeah, I didn't either.
yeah, so it's it definitely could be multiple. It's just interesting to bat it around, I think.
It's a female bartender that's just tired of the same fucking type of guy hitting on her.
I wondered if it was a
like-
female or a couple
like,
of
you know
females
what?
doing this.
Fuck
I mean,
this, man.
I could
That's
see a
her night.
couple of females that had gotten burned by guys like that in the bars, and who knows,
You know
man?
what?
I mean,
Fuck these fuck boys.
a woman could push a fucking 6'3" dude on fucking roofies off a bridge pretty easy if she wanted to.
Fuck yeah, she could.
Now, I did see that there are some people who believe the smiley face killer could be
saw
operating
that
in
as
that
well.
area, which is interesting. Due to that smiley face painted on the sidewalk near one of those victims.
That's normal graffiti, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's an entire episode, though, the smiley face killer, because those are
Yeah, yeah,
really pretty crazy, also unsolved in New York City. But in this one, I'm just not seeing it because, like you said, that's common enough. Forrest Gump, made it famous again. The smiley face.
Shit
Yeah.
happens.
Run, Forrest. So, Tech. So, with most of the most recent victim being a female, I mean, do you think she may be related here, or do you think she's kind of an outlier?
Honestly, I think she's an outlier. It only being one.
Yeah.
But she's not the latest one.
Really?
Like yesterday, I was looking at some more articles.
Oh,
There
you
were
were-
2 more bodies found.
Oh my God!
In April. One on the 13th, and I forget what the other date was.
Holy
but
shit.
Yeah, there were 2 more found.
Oh wow!
Crazy.
Males?
Of course, they're all hush hush about it, but
I mean, I haven't heard anything
Articles
about
there.
that. I don't think that news has been released yet. I think you just let yourself out of the bag there, Tex.
hey, I might have. You heard it here.
That's right. That's right. So, it'd be like the Papa Rogers thing in the Idaho 4. There's a whole conspiracy thing with this guy that was on the chat boards as Papa Rogers, and everybody thinks it was Koberger and all that. But I think this is a really interesting case. It's still ongoing. I mean, so ongoing that there's still bodies showing up. We may be revisiting this one at some point in the future.
Oh, I have no
mean,
doubts, dude.
Yeah,
'cause
I
this
think
is-
so, especially if they catch somebody. That'd be cool to get this fucking thing over with. But, we don't usually do them unsolved. It's super interesting and a great suggestion from Tex. And I do want to do a video on this, Tex, so we'll do that together. That'd be a lot of fun. But anything to add to this one, guys? Rainey Street Ripper, Ladybird Lake serial killer, man. Screen door intruder's fucking cousin. I don't know.
I really got nothing.
No?
We can forget about the Lady Bird Lake Killer.
Yeah, we can
Stick
forget
to
all
the
about
Rainey
that.
Strip-
Yeah,
Rainey Street
I
Ripper.
agree. So I did my research by watching a documentary from the Law and Crime Network. I thought it was really good on YouTube. Plus that serial killer database, Wikipedia, and some news articles there from Austin. A lot of stuff out there that is current. Like we said, it's unsolved. But thank you for coming on with us tonight, Tex. Always great to have you
Fuck yeah,
on,
it is.
and your new
Hey,
companion
thanks, man.
there.
And thanks for having Doe on too. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah,
Fucking
dude.
right.
Well, we'll tell Doe that we thank him too. We appreciate that. But next week, man, we are not stopping the brutality, gentlemen. The Wichita Massacre. This
Oh,
one
yeah.
is
Brutal.
brutal.
As fuck, yeah.
The Wichita Horror, it's also called. A week-long crime spree in
These
2000.
brothers
Yeah,
just
Reginald and Jonathan Carr, absolutely like horror show stuff. Really awful. They left 5 dead, 2 more seriously injured, and probably scarred for life.
yeah,
We're gonna
physically
have-
and mentally.
Yeah,
And the
I mean,
homie Zev's gonna be here.
yeah, Zev Charles, who's a friend of the podcast, and you guys actually know him personally. I just know him through Facebook and stuff. But super dude, and who's going to be going on with us remotely, be from Chicago.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a full plate with him next week. He suggested it, so when we do that, man, we drag him on, and
Yes, sir.
like we did with who did we recently do that with? We had, anytime somebody
Fuck, I don't
suggests
remember.
something, we call them in here and get them to, subject themselves to Murder Metal Mayhem in the flesh. So, but he suggested it, and we're going to do that one next week. But Joey, how about some page a day, man?
I got some. I got 2 short ones and then a longer one. We've been off a little while, so
Oh, yeah.